What brought me out today is the introduction of the Preservation of Our Constitution Act of 2026 to ensure that only American laws will be used in American courts. This bill is the federal version of the state bill that we worked on the national level called American Laws for American Courts. That you saw me out there. I worked with my colleague Frank Gaffney. You're going to interview him later on the passage of this bill across the United States because with the rise of migrants and immigrants to our great nation, they are bringing with them laws that are not compatible with the U.S. Constitution. They did a study, the Center for Security Policy, a few years ago, and found out that Sharia law was used in 22 states and 143 cases. In the United States, most people think, oh, this is a European problem, and we obviously are seeing what Europe is dealing with right now. You have, I think I heard over 180 parallel Sharia courts operating to British courts inside England. We're seeing the same thing happen in Germany. We're seeing the same thing happen in France, in many countries in Europe, where the Muslims who immigrated to Europe are trying to basically introduce their law and make it the law of the land. They do not want to abide by British law. So what this bill says, and I couldn't find a better time to introduce this bill, the Preservation of Our Constitution Act of 2026, the week of 4th of July, celebrating our 250th birthday. The United States Constitution is the document, is the bedrock of the success of our nation. We have become the greatest nation on the face of the planet because of our Constitution and the wisdom that our founding fathers saw in giving us the Constitution. And this is why people came from all over the world to the United States, seeking freedom, seeking protection. They escaped persecution. That's why they ended up in the United States. And so we want to make sure that no other law that is not compatible with the U.S. Constitution will be allowed to be used in any American courtroom. And the reason we did not say Islamic law, we just said the Preservation of the Constitution Act of 2026, is because if you are a British company, or if you are an Australian company or a French company doing business with an American company, and you get into litigation and the company says, well, we want to use French law or we want to use British law, that's fine because that is compatible with the U.S. Constitution. You can do that. But we do not want laws in our country that render a woman's value half of that of a man, which is what Sharia court does. We do not want laws in our country that takes a woman's children away from her and gives them to the father. It doesn't matter how underage they are, because he's the father and she's worthless. We do not want any men in this country beating their wives, abusing their wives, torturing their wives, and then when their wives seek protection, they go to a judge and the judge says, well, because the husband says, well, I'm an Afghani, I want to be tried under Afghani law or under Somali law or under Bangladeshi law. They cannot do that because what's been happening is, in these domestic cases in particular, women have been sent back to their abusers to go into some Sharia court that says you've got to listen to your husband because he is your head, he is your boss, basically he owns you. We do not want these laws in the United States. We want to make sure that whoever comes to our country, they are welcome here as long as they abide by our Constitution. They come here legally, doing it the right way. They abide by our Constitution. The Constitution is the highest law in the land. And we will fight tooth and nail to make sure it will always remain the highest law and the only law in the United States. And that's why I'm here. Well, what brought me